Okay guys, I'm just going to give a rundown on the vehicle. My Cruiser, 70 series Cruiser that I bought new last year in July, and I've just been building it up over the last... COVID's made it very difficult to build a vehicle quick, and not only that, I was in a little bit of uncharted waters because I hadn't built a tourer to this degree. Not that it's anything outstanding, certainly not a Patriot build or the like, but it's a build that I've built to what I'm going to need for touring and the top touring I'm going to be doing. So I'll give you a quick rundown on it, and because it's very close to hitting the road. Only got about a week and a bit, and we'll be heading south, and there'll be a video on that just to show basically my first few points or what I plan to do. The plan was to go WA. I'm going to see if I can do a bit of a Queensland loop, one of a number of loops that will eventually take me off and keep me away. So at this stage I'm going to do a bit of a loop down south, pretty much driven by COVID and driven by you know, doing some fishing, and that I want to always be near water if I can, whether it be the beach or whether it be a dam or whether it be a river. So that's what the plan is. So it's time to have a look at the vehicle. I'll just give you a rundown. It won't take a great deal of time because not a lot of need explanation. I'll just do the outside for now, and then we'll have a look at the inside setup and see what I've done there to get me going. So let's get underway. So it's a 76 series Land Cruiser, nothing special, and it certainly don't look out of the ordinary. The tyres, I'm going to run these tyres till they're done, and then go to, well, what I consider to be a better tyre. I don't normally run this brand, but when I do, I'm going to go up one size. So I go to 75s as opposed to 70s. It just tends to run a little bit better on the type of suspension. So you can see from the outside, I've done nothing on the back really. Two reasons for that: mainly weight and cost. The reason I was thinking about doing something, putting something on the back, was so I could carry a second spare. But when I quoted it up for, you know, something that as far as all the reviews goes would be what I'd need to put on, we're talking something like about anywhere between $4,000 and $5,000, and just to carry a spare tyre. So crikey Moses, I could get my vehicle towed back to the nearest town for half that. So I'm just going to run with a one tyre and give some thought about what I'm going to do before I get on some of the tougher stuff, but I haven't really come up with any alternatives at the moment. So not a lot in it, as you can see. Pretty straightforward build. ARB work. I've had the ARB in my last vehicle and I was happy with it, so a bit of a fan of ARB. So I've got the ARB with the bigger tube, the deluxe bar, the worn Xeon winch, synthetic rope, 10,000 pound, the intensity, the larger intensity spotties, which I'm pretty happy with at the moment, and they had like a special on at the time when I was getting some work done, so I went with the intensity because it worked out a reasonable sort of price. Two antennas, both being UHF GME 370Cs, so the units are hid away. Wide two antennas. The antenna on the, well, basically is around the 3 and the 6 dB, I think, but it saves me one, having to change antennas when terrain changes dramatically, and two, which I've already used, is the ability to monitor a channel such as channel 40 for information, and run the second channel on someone else that's running in convoy with me, which has been really useful at this stage. On the right hand side we've got the Selfie. The Selfie, I probably have only really utilised it once, I think, at this stage, so I haven't got any pluses or minuses. All I know at this stage is it does work, but the benefit and extension of range will be interesting on how it goes. Side rails, side steps, all ARB. I'm actually thinking about changing those silver to getting them anodised to a black, or even rhino coating them, because I've got to tell you that when I got with my thongs on, my feet are wet with a bit of mud, I nearly went arse over tit. Clear view mirrors, and around the body that's getting close to it, what I have is I've gone with the ARB. They were fairly new at the time, but I really like the look of the system. and they were promoted well, and from the few people that had got them at the time, they did rate them. And so I chose to go with the ARB base rack. I'm really happy with it. It is, I do like it, and what I really like is the fittings that you get for it. They're just so simple. They've got fittings for everything. It's just so simple to put on, so easy to position, and you can pretty much position something wherever you want within a matter of minutes. There's no drilling holes. In most cases, it's just a matter of just loosening off the actual part of the bracket that holds it in place, such as, you know, on the top there where I've had the swag on the other day. You can see that you just turn the top of those and they come off, and you slide and position them anywhere. I'm happy with that. The awning mount works very well as well, and that went on just a treat, and just clamps on, runs into position on the rail as well. So I've also mounted the Drifter Stockton awning, which is pretty good actually, and I have to admit I'm a big fan of the Drifter gear. Pretty much most of my stuff is either Drifter or ARB, to be honest. I'm not particularly biased to any other brand, it's just that I happen to like that brand, and I think most of the stuff is as good as anything else you get for money for value and price. And disclaimer is I've paid for all this myself, guys. I've organised and paid for it all myself. There's been no freebies whatsoever in the build, so I'm certainly not being sponsored to tell good stories about things. One thing with the rack though, I will mention that you do need to stop the airflow going up in between the rails, and that's what I found. So I did a few trials before, because the main reason rack went on was to get a solar panel on the top, and that was the main, and some max tracks. Apart from that, it's just a bit of icing on the cake if I do need to throw something on top. But I'm not a fan of roof racks or weight on roof racks. However, unless you cover those first few rails, and I think that's what the issue is, unless you cover those first few rails and stop the wind roaring up through those rails, it's well, certainly in the 70 series, and we all know the 70 series are not certainly not the best for deafening and you know, quietness, lack of wind noise when you're driving, but it's absolutely horrendous. And that's my statement. Others may not agree, but I've spoken with a number of people that had the same thing. They just say they're very noisy. But to stop that, it's easy. You just need to cover those first few rails. So instead of running a slimline long ways, I just purely simply put my solar panel on the top there, and it's done the same job. And to be honest, even at 100k, you'd struggle to know whether you had it on or not now. Excuse me. Standard snorkel. Still in two minds whether I'm going to change it or not. I have no plans whatsoever to go swimming across rivers. I'm retired. This is my last vehicle, and I'm certainly not in a position to replace a vehicle if it gets guts knocked out of it. And and I have no need to cross that sort of thing anyway. It's not in my plans for travel that to go to any places I'm likely to have to do heavy river crossings. Certainly not in the dry season. Probably one of the major expenses was the suspension. So I had a Focus, and I did a bit of research, and I spoke to ARB and watched some videos on YouTube, because I'm not after flex. I'm not planning on doing any rough rock climbing or doing some really gnarly stuff. I'm certainly not an all for adventure driver. And the suspension, what I really wanted out of a suspension was something that could really handle corrugations well, and give me as best ride as I could, and avoid, you know, cooking seals and such. That I had done that before. I had cooked a couple of shockies in the rear end of my previous vehicle. Then they were just standard shocks, and one trip and they were done. So I've gone with the Ironman Emu suspension BP51s. Really happy with them at the moment for the bit of trialling I've done, and they go really well, and the car rides extremely well. And you know, it certainly doesn't drive like a 70 series anymore. So you still got the noise, you still got the wind noise, but it drives well. Max tracks on the back. Connection for the solar panel runs along the rails and runs internally on the rails. They have internal like a conduiting internal run on the rails to allow you to hide that away, which I liked. And I like the fact that we've come in through this rear stoplight, and she's all sealed, grommet and sealed up in there. Max tracks will go from 2 to 4 at this stage, but that's about it, guys. It's a fairly simple build, and I can't say that you know, I'm unhappy with anything at the moment. I'm really happy with the build and how it's come along. Most of it my decision with some advice. Suspension was easy enough. I just loaded it up, weighed everything, worked out what my driving load was going to be, added on 140 kilos for the trailer tow weight, spoke to RB, and we decided on a set of 400 constants in the back with the BP51s, and it works really well. Vehicle flat, drives well, doesn't feel like there's any rear end overweight, and that's pretty much, you know, what you're after. So that's worked out really well. So that's about it for the exterior of the vehicle. Take it easy, guys. You know, look after yourselves, try and be healthy, have a beer now and then. It's always good stress relief, not too much. I hope you come back, so feel free to subscribe. You know, it doesn't do any harm to subscribe and hit the button to see what comes up. And then if you don't like what I'm doing, you don't like me channel and there's no interest for you, you can just always unsubscribe. But unless you subscribe, you'll never know. The channel's mainly at this stage, I don't know where it's going to go. I'm probably really terrible at it at the moment because I've never done anything like this before. But we'll see where it goes. I'm not in it to make money. I'm in it to let people see what, you know, an old fella's doing with his dog after a, you know, a major change in life, an unfortunate change in life, and family and friends will be able to see what I'm going traveling around, and it'll be a perfect record for me, you know, when I get back, and when I finish my travels, whenever that might be, which will be sometime, I'd imagine. Thanks, guys. Again, stay safe, look after yourself, be kind to people, have a beer, and enjoy life. Cheers.